So you may have used the Skype for Business features before. Right now, you are in a team. You're part of a team. You clicked on a link in the chat channel, in the post tab to join this meeting, which is part of a team. So right now, here I am in the team meeting. And if I click over here, you can see when I bring my cursor to the left side, this is what we call the me space. If I click anywhere over here, my meeting window kind of gets minimized. So here it is down here in the corner. I can click on there to reopen it, but this is the team. Come back into the meeting, and here's the team meeting. Today, we're going to be asking questions and posting links inside the meeting in the conversation tab or the chat tab. Okay, so we have chat right here, and Becky is going to be posting things in there as we need them. After this meeting is done, recorded, and once it's history, then you'll be able to come back to this team and come to this post tab, and we're going to move all of the questions and all of the links over to here. And this space that now says join is going to become the location where you'll click to watch this video again. All right, so we are, again, in a meeting that's also in a team. Now, other piece of setup for you is if I do a lesson live with students face-to-face, okay, I'm in the classroom with them, I only show them a student view of my Nearpod. This is going to apply to both Nearpod and Pear Deck, but I only show them the student screen. That's what's connected to the projector. I like to have the teacher view on a different device, so I can walk around the room untethered and run the program. I can do that from a Chromebook. I can do it from my Surface Pro. I can do it from my iPhone. I don't show the students the teacher view at all. When I'm doing a training in Nearpod, it's a little bit trickier because I need to show the people that I'm training the teacher screen, and that's the situation we're in today. I need to show you both screens, but it's further complicated by we're doing all of this online. So I'll have to do some screen sharing of both the student screen and the teacher screen. And the same is going to be true when we do Pear Deck. So the good news is that's more complicated than what you're going to have to do when you work with students. So the good news is some of the finagling that I'm going to have to do, don't worry about it. When you show your Pear Deck to students, when you show your Nearpod to students, you're going to have one less screen to juggle. And that's especially helpful when you're using an online platform to share your screen with them. All right, so I'm going to pull, whoops, I seem to have lost my PowerPoint. There it is. All right, so this is the PowerPoint that I started with, and it's the same one that I used to create the Nearpod assignment, the same one I used to create the Pear Deck assignment. So you can see at the beginning, I'm actually going to go into Slideshow here. These first few slides you're going to see in both of the other presentations, and then we'll diverge from there. All right, so I am Matthew Nickerson. I work for Anne Arundel County Public Schools in Maryland. I did special ed for over 20 years, and as a special ed teacher, just discovered that it's impossible to do it's just impossible to do that job. But you can come a lot closer if you harness technology. And so I started using lots and lots of technology. And by the time we had an opening in our instructional technology office, I had taken all of their courses and knew everybody there really well. So 3 things about me. Whoops, these were supposed to be words, but my Zoom is not working. All right, so we'll just scroll ahead to those pages. This is my family. I have 8 children. You'll see in a moment that my Twitter handle is dad times 8, and this is why. This picture is a little bit old. The girl in the front here is headed into high school next year, so this is about 5 years old. Other interesting facts, I am an author. That includes blogging. I'm not sure that counts as authoring or not. I have a favorite meme that says, blogging. Never before have so many people written so many words to so few people. But I do have a blog. It's called theother-it.com. That stands for instructional technology as opposed to information technology. And back in October, I published this book, which at the time was the only book on the market for Microsoft in the classroom. Holly Clark has since published the Microsoft Infused Classroom, and our moderator, Becky, along with Kathy Krasnowski, is also with I2E. They're coming out with a book in June, so it's getting more crowded in our market. And finally, I'm a part-time lumberjack. So I am working down in my basement, 60 to 70 hours a week on this computer since this crisis started. And what I like to do for stress relief is I go out and we had this tree cut down and I'm chopping it up. So this was 4 trunks that were about 50 feet high. So there's still a lot to do there, but that's my stress relief. All right, so coming back here, like I said, my Twitter handle is @dad_8 written out. If you'd like to email me, it's matthew.nickerson@USMIE, that's Microsoft Innovative Educator.com. And there's my LinkedIn, Matthew Nickerson @AACPS. All right, so what are we going to do today? Well, this is the Pear Deck version of this. So we're going to be doing Nearpod and Pear Deck, but we're looking for engagements, interactivity, and specifically how also these integrate with Microsoft tools like Teams, Sway, and PowerPoint. So at this point, I want you to experience the chat for a little bit. So my question for you is, what are you doing more of personally or professionally during this quarantine? So you can, if you don't see this floating bar, if it disappears because you haven't moved your mouse in a while, just move your mouse and it reappears. And click on conversation. And I want to see, what are you doing more of? I see running. Gardening. Yeah, my wife is doing a lot of flower planting. But she started from seeds, so we're constantly moving flower pots in and out. Nerf gun battles. Nice. Learning, reading, family time. Great. Webinars. Good choice. Tweeting more. Good. Wearing hats. Oh. That is not one I expected to see on here. I am seeing a lot of positive things in there. Oh, and then eating dessert. All right. Thank you all for sharing. All right. So now what I'd like you to do is use that me space over here. I want you to click over here on the left and click on Teams. And scroll up a little bit to where you see, you might not need to scroll up, but where it says Nearpod Microsoft Integration, or you can also find it up here in the tab. And you can click there. And this will launch our Nearpod right here inside of Teams. And that's one way to do this. Okay, I got to see people joining here. Good. Anything that you open in a tab here, and that includes Word documents, any websites, Sway, things like that, you always have the option right here. There's a little globe. So if you decide that this is not enough space to work in, you can always click here and open the same page in a new tab. So I now can control it from here, or I can control it from here. So this is a teacher-paced lesson, so that means I am able to click left and right, and as I do, it brings the 22 of you who are logged in to this screen as well.
Hey, Matthew, we just had a question to the chat. Michelle said, does that take you out of the first one, or am I in both now? So I think
it's the same one. Okay. Yeah, you're just accessing it a different way. Now, what's a good question is, I don't know when I get my reports at the end, I don't know if I'm going to see you in there twice or not.
Okay, so
that's a question.
We have about 30 people on the call. No, 38. So do you see quite a few people moving over there, Matthew, or should we give the directions one more time?
There are 24 in.
Okay, great.
But it's been at 24 for a little bit.
Okay. Yes.
So yeah, so
go ahead and type in your name and click join session. Yep. So Matthew, go ahead and just give the clicks one more time, and then I think we'll be all set.
Okay, so one place you can get to it is right here in the posts thread. So it is this little icon here is the Nearpod icon. So you click there, it'll open right here in your window. Or you can add tabs to the top of a team. And I have this same tab right here. Both of them will do the exact same thing. They will open this Nearpod session right here in your screen. And now we're up to 28.
Perfect, thanks. And then you'll type in your name and click join session to participate. And we know not everyone will want to do that. Some people will just want to watch, but it's of course such better learning if everyone gets to interact.
Absolutely, yes. And while you're doing that, I just opened up, those of you who have the video still down in the bottom right corner. This is the Nearpod website. So I have a library of lessons in here. But one of the differences between Nearpod and Pear Deck is Nearpod has lesson libraries where you can download pre-made lessons on all kinds of topics. Some of them are free, many of them are not. And then if I hover over, so this is the lesson that we're in right now. So if I hover over this and I click on live lesson, it'll show me that you currently have an active lesson running right now. This is the one that I created last night. So the code here is JFGAS. Now you don't see that code anywhere when you launch it from Teams. The whole point of launching it in Teams is students don't have to worry about a code. But for me, I actually need this code because what I would like to do is I want to go to Nearpod as a presenter. I want to go to nearpod.com and join as a student. So I want to see this code, JFGAS, put it in right here. Because as a teacher, I don't want to show my students the teacher screen. I want to show them a copy of what they're seeing. The teacher screen is going to give them way too much information. They'll be able to see each other's answers and things like that. So what I project is the same screen that they see. And what's nice about that is as everybody else answers, say, a quiz, I just leave question number 1 up when everybody else is done submitting, and I check that on my other device. I see how far people are. Then when I want to go over the answers, I have the student screen up there, and I'll go over the answers and I'll answer it and we'll discuss it live after they have finished. All right, so here we go. Some of this should look familiar. And on to something new. All right, so this is a slide that I created within Nearpod. So I mentioned that the options for what slides look like are a little bit limited. You can make this look a whole lot nicer in PowerPoint, but like I said, I'll tell you one reason why you might want to make them here in a moment. So we asked the question, what are you doing more of, personally or professionally, and wanted you to answer that in the Teams chat. Well, that's an open-ended question. So open-ended questions are one of the question types that we have in Nearpod as well. And so here is an example of an open-ended question. And it has a 1-minute timer. And it also has a little helpful picture in the top right corner. We call that reference materials. And I'm looking and nobody has answered yet. Hoping that's not a sign of issues. Are you all able to answer the question? Oh, there we go. I got it. Learning about Pear Deck. Differences, okay. So that reference image in the top really doesn't help you answer the question, but those reference images can be videos, they can be PDFs of text, they can be a chart or a graph or a diagram. So that can actually be something that students need to click on to find an answer. That can be something that they need to click on really as a reference material. I just happen to use it for entertainment. So I can click on the share button and you're able to see an exemplar answer, but on your screen, it should be anonymous. Now on my teacher screen, I can see who it was. And so you can see we have some people more interested in Nearpod and some are really here for the Pear deck. And that makes sense. Right? So Immersive Reader. Immersive Reader is a product that Microsoft created for accessibility. It is, I like to call it, like it says here, an entire suite of reading tools, not just text-to-speech. It is designed so that, actually, we're just going to go ahead and do it. On this next slide, we'll actually just go into it rather than me talking about it without you seeing it. So if you notice in the top right corner, you should have a little book icon with a speaker. And we're not here to teach you Immersive Reader, but I'm just going to show you what's in each of the tabs. So it does have read aloud. It also has in this first tab, this is really about how not everybody who has a reading difficulty has decoding issues. A lot of reading difficulties have a strong visual component. So you can change text size, you can increase spacing. There's some very simple fonts here. These are just different background colors. Some of you, I'm sure, are familiar with dark mode or night mode from your tablets or phones. These other colors are, you can look up IRLEN, it's IRLEN, I believe it's .org. There's decades of research into this. You may have seen in your teaching career or even when you were in school, a student who had colored transparencies laid over their page. Yeah, that's IRLEN colors. So the first few of these correspond to IRLEN colors, and then the rest of these are just, well, they're just interest. So for those of us who don't need that, it's just a matter of personal preference. There's syllables, color coding parts of speech. I'm colorblind, so I need to turn on the labels for that to help. And finally, in the last tab, there's line focus. So this is the digital equivalent of reading rulers or holding a piece of paper under as you read.
It is good to always have an introductory.
So it's nice because kids don't have to track down the page. It brings the text up to them. There's picture dictionary. It's a board maker. So in my district, we pay money just to have board maker when it's already built in here. Not every word has an image in board maker, but those that do, I'm really striking out. Usually, do I have it turned on? I don't have it turned on. Okay. There we go. I was surprised the start didn't have one. So a lot of times they'll have more than one image for more than one meaning of that word. And then you can translate into about 70 different languages, including 3 different versions of Spanish. So that's available in a lot of different slides types in Nearpod, a lot of different activities. And this is the reason why I no longer say that you always should make your slides in PowerPoint and then bring them in, because sometimes there's things more important than how pretty does it look. I could make this look way better if I made it in PowerPoint. But if I bring the slide over from PowerPoint into Nearpod, it is an image. The only tool that Immersive Reader works in for images is OneNote. OneNote has optical character recognition, so you can take a picture of text and OneNote reads that, and then Immersive Reader works with what OneNote reads. Most other digital tools don't have optical character recognition. So in Nearpod, this is a picture, and Immersive Reader doesn't read text in pictures. So since this is a slide that I made the text in Nearpod, I can edit this. This is editable. This is not a picture. This is text. So Immersive Reader is able to read that. So that's one consideration when you're trying to decide, should I make it here or should I make it in PowerPoint? Which is more important to you? And are you going to be sharing this with students who need that accessibility feature? If so, then you might want to sacrifice the good looks for that. So here's a draw it activity. This used to be everybody's favorites activity in Nearpod. Now Time to Climb kind of has it beat out. But the idea here is you can now type or draw or insert pictures from online or from your device onto this page. So what I'm asking you to do is circle which activities you think have Immersive Reader built in. So at the top of your page, you have the little directions there, and there's a little blue arrow. If you click on that blue arrow, the directions will retreat up to the top of the page. You can click on the arrow again to reopen them, but you can see the full canvas if you click to kind of remove those directions. And don't think I gave a timer for this one. We'll give you about 3 more seconds. And we'll go to the answer. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. You can't do anything right now, can you? I apologize. This is an intro screen. I put this in here to make the point that when you do an activity in Nearpod, you should always have an intro screen. I'm sorry, I forgot that I did that. So the idea of an intro screen is this is where I tell you what you're about to do, because if I take you right into the activity and then give you the directions, most of you are already doing the activity before or while I'm giving the directions. So here's the page that I give you to say, you're about to do a draw it, and here's what your task is. There's your task. This one also has a web link in the top corner, and in this case, the web link will help you. It will not give you the full answers, but it will help you find some of the answers. All right. So it used to be that I could not see what you were drawing until you clicked submit. And now I do have a live view as you are doing it. Some of them will say submitted, some of them say in progress. And once again, I can share a screen with you. Used to be if you shared a screen that if I shared a screen with you, if you hadn't submitted your work, when I unshared, you would lose your work. But thankfully, they fixed that a couple years ago. All right, so let's see what the answer is. All right, so 2 months ago when I first used this slide, matching pairs was not one of them. So that was added in this past month. So I went in and hand wrote that in there just so you can see that that's a new one. So polls, draw it, quiz, open-ended questions, and matching pairs. Some of these, like for matching pairs, it will not read what is on the card for a pair. So matching pairs can be match a text to a picture, match the word in English to the word in Spanish, match the word to its definition. So the cards that those are on, it will not read, but Immersive Reader will read the directions. So that's how some of these work is it'll read the directions, like in Draw It, that little blue tab at the top of the screen with the directions, Immersive Reader will read that part.
Hey, Matthew, we have a great question in the chat that I think everyone would want the answer to. And that is, are you demonstrating this in the free version of Nearpod? And if not, because I know you have a district account and you're a trainer, what are the differences in just a little quick sentence?
This is not the free version. However, right now, like many other companies, one of the links that we have to share with you is to the Nearpod website where you can actually request the upgraded accounts. With Nearpod, they don't have a firm deadline like, oh, it's the rest of this school year or into September. It's you let them know what you need. So as long as your school or district is doing remote learning, you give them that deadline, and if you need to extend it later, you can. So they're giving the free upgrades to everybody. Also at the end, I have a code to give you for 3 free months, but you can only use the code once in the life of your account. So since they're already giving you free, please don't use my code now. Wait till the free that they're giving you because of our current situation expires, and then use my code and tack an extra free 3 months on there. I don't think I shared the link with you for this, Becky, but I will get the link to you to share with them. There's a website that there's a web page on Nearpod site that compares the different features and lets you know what comes. It used to be there was just a free account and a gold account. Now there's silver is what they call the free account. There's silver, gold, platinum, school, and district. So there's 5 different levels. So yeah, I have the district, which has the most. And when I say the most, that's actually the most features. So things like I can run a student paced session rather than me clicking on the arrows. Student paced session, you go through on your own and do it. That only comes with the paid accounts. The content. So when I briefly went to the Nearpod website and said, hey, they have lots of content, some of it's free, some of it's paid, that's a different payment. So if you have a paid account, that doesn't mean that you get all of the paid content. Some of the content will come with a district account, but a lot of the content itself, that's a different revenue stream for Nearpod. So things that it does in conjunction with Microsoft, I mentioned starting in PowerPoint. This is one of the places where Pear Deck works a little smoother than Nearpod. So here is just a page that I had pasted some things into a PowerPoint slide, and this was one of the, here it is, design ideas. In addition to having all of these different themes that you can choose from, and then once you choose a theme, then you have different color schemes to choose from. Once you start actually making slides, design ideas will pop up, and you can see right here it made this suggestion. So this was one of the ways that PowerPoint took these 2 pictures that I pasted on my plain white slide, said, hey, this looks a little more interesting. So you have that design work, the AI working for you. But I put this slide back in here to remind you that, yeah, this one doesn't look as pretty, but this is an image. And when you bring it over into Nearpod, Immersive Reader will not read any of this text, and it will read this. So those are your 2 considerations. And then the next piece that Nearpod makes a little bit complicated is once I bring my slideshow over and I start making changes in Nearpod, and then I realize, whoops, that one slide that I made in PowerPoint, I need to make some changes to it. I can't make that change in Nearpod. I need to go back to PowerPoint to make that change. So if I brought 70 slides over and I only need to change one of them, I don't want to import all 70 slides again. So that's when you choose, this is a picture from PowerPoint, click on File, go to Export, and you can save just that one slide as a picture. And then you can import that slide into Nearpod, just that one, which saves a lot on processing time. It takes a little while to process the 70 slides. If I'm just going to delete 69 of them because they're duplicates, that's a lot of time wasted. So knowing how within PowerPoint to just export one slide at a time will save you a lot of time in your editing. Options from PowerPoint. Again, I can bring the entire presentation over slide for slide. So this is one slide from PowerPoint, and it is one slide in Nearpod. I can, as I just said, add just selected slides. And I believe on our next tab, I'm going to show you how to add slides as a slideshow. So it's essentially a slideshow within a slideshow. And yes, we have here. So we're still in teacher paced. So I'm controlling which slide you're on, but this slide is a set of slides. So you can now click on 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you can go through this slideshow on your own. This was actually, I had a request from a teacher about a comics maker or comic strip maker, and I was telling her, you can do this in PowerPoint. And she wanted to know, yeah, what about another website? And so I decided to just make her a sample. Here's my little slideshow. So this is a presentation within a presentation. And now we're going to do a matching activity. So I described matching to you earlier. So the idea here is it doesn't matter if you click on the icon or the name first, but you might click on the PowerPoint icon and then the word PowerPoint, and then the icon for PowerPoint. But that's how you make a match. So you're not clicking and dragging or anything like that. It's just click on one, click on its partner. I think you have a minute to do this one. So here you go. So as you are doing this, I will see lifetime results. It will show me how many matches you have, and it'll also show me how many tries. So if there are, say, 6 matches, but it takes you 8 tries to do it, then that lets me know that you had 2 mistakes along the way. In this case, we have 10. Whoops, I just showed the answers. 25 more seconds. You don't have to have a timer for these activities. Timers are always optional. All right, very nice. So again, I can see that several people got 10 out of 10. Some of them took 10 tries, some took 11 tries. Some people got fewer of them completed, and some of you did not try that, and that's fine. All right, next thing that Nearpod and Microsoft have in common is Sway. The Sway was actually the first thing in my school district that we opened up to work outside of the district. And that was specifically for Nearpod. So everything in Office 365, we can't share outside the district. But in order to use your sways that you've created inside of Nearpod, Nearpod needs access to your Office 365. So I can use any of the things that I have created sways for outside of Nearpod. I can bring them into Nearpod. So I said this is a little bit like Inception because we have a slideshow within a slideshow. So this was a sway I created because we have so many parents and teachers and principals asking, what's Minecraft doing in our schools? And so this was sort of our comprehensive answer to that. So sway can scroll left to right or up and down. You can also convert a sway into slides temporarily if you're going to actually do a live presentation and you need to show one slide at a time. But you can easily switch them back and forth between slides, scrolling left and right, scrolling up and down. It's very much like a website. So these are all links. See, I have some screenshots that also have links to get to them. This is all, a lot of these screenshots are from education.minecraft.net. But then I also have some research studies. And then there's a number of different ways to display multiple pictures. So this is my favorite one. It's the stack. Click and scroll through. Now, if that's too small to see, then you can always enlarge it. You do kind of lose that scrolling through feature. Did the same thing with some testimonials of teachers using Minecraft with students. Hey, Becky, that should look familiar, right?
Absolutely.
And then more links. So this is really a website. You can actually create sways from a Word document and convert them into a sway. And that's where it actually asks you, do you want to transform this into a website? The sway is a presentation tool like PowerPoint, but it's also it's a presentation tool that is a website. So you can embed those sways right inside. Here's just another example I put in here just in case I couldn't get the one from my school account to connect, but it worked. Forms, you don't necessarily need forms in Nearpod because Nearpod has its own kind of assessment tools. We're going to do a quiz in a moment, but quizzes in Nearpod are just multiple choice. So the reason I threw forms in here is because you can add any website to a Nearpod presentation, and forms all have their own URL. So you can add them as a website. So if you need something more than multiple choice, then you can add your forms and get all of these different question types as well. So Nearpod works great for app smashing. I love Nearpod, but there's nothing quite like Quizlet for vocabulary. So I often would embed some Quizlet vocabulary pages into a Nearpod for my students. And actually, we're going to skip past. You can embed websites. So we're going to skip past that particular one. Stream is a video platform it's kind of like a YouTube for your own district. So again, none of you are in my district, so I'm going to fast forward past this one, but I can take a video in Stream, put the URL in Nearpod. So if I'm using this with my own district students, then Stream will play right here within Nearpod. And I think I have I have a question about this one. So let me just briefly go over OneNote. OneNote really has nothing to do with Nearpod. This was just some content that I used so I can ask you some questions about it on the next page. So this is the Insert tab, and these are the kinds of things that you can insert. You've got files and printouts and different ways to get pictures in there, and web links, and you can record audio. This was my session yesterday. It was using Nearpod for feedback, like stickers. You can insert forms into a OneNote. You can also click on the drawing tab, and you have lots of different options for pens and highlighters and pencils and different colors and thicknesses. You can insert shapes or draw a shape and convert it. Got ink to text and some math tools. All right, so that's your 30-second overview of OneNote. And now, if you're looking at my screen, the answers are showing. Fill in the blanks is kind of the one exception for Nearpod. It does not save your answers in the reports. So the report that you get at the end of the session will save all of your answers. It will save all of the slides. If we do a collaborate activity, which is a board where everybody kind of contributes answers, the report at the end will actually give you a link to all of those as the teacher. So you'll be able to see everybody's responses. And there is kind of a student version of those reports. And if you look to the right side of your screen, you'll see a little pencil and pen icon. And if you click that, the notes section will open up in a column on the right. And you can choose to have that emailed or save it to your Google Drive or your OneDrive. Once you select which of those methods you want, then that will actually convert into a place where you can take notes. Now, even if you don't literally take any notes, there is great value in clicking there and saving this, because it gives you, as a student, pretty much everything that the teacher sees, except it's only yours. So those notes will, again, save this entire presentation as a PDF. It will show what you selected on quizzes. For this activity, the fill in the blank, it will actually save the correct answers for that. So it gives you the entire presentation to go back to and review. And that Collaborate board that I mentioned, you also will get a web link in your notes to Collaborate board to see all of the responses that everybody made. We are now at about the halfway point. I have 7 slides left here, actually 6 slides left in Nearpod, so we're actually in good shape. Nearpod takes a little bit longer to go through than Pear Deck. Right, but here's your quiz. So again, if you look at my screen, if you go back to, I'm not saying you need to do this, but if you were to go back to Teams and blow up my screen, I have a list of everybody's names. I don't have the questions here. There's no point in showing this screen to you. What you will see is as people start answering, their answer choices will appear on here and they'll be color coded. Green is right, red is wrong. I don't want students seeing that. So that's why we project the student view on the projector. And I'm actually going to just click on a different tab. Oh, that shows the same thing. So my answers aren't showing up there in case you are looking at it in Teams. I'm going to show a different view right now. Right, so what I just did is, again, in case you're looking at my screen in Teams, I just projected a different tab up here, but I just grabbed the tab that has the answers and moved that onto my monitor that is not being projected to you, so I can still see your progress. Again, if I'm doing this in the classroom, I'm just going to do that on a different device, so I can see your progress in real time without projecting it to you. And it looks like pretty much everyone who is answering any has answered them all. So now you can see how you did when I click to share the results. And I've mentioned the Collaborate board a couple times. So when the Collaborate board comes up, a window comes up for me as a teacher that says, well, it doesn't really say what it really means. It says, would you like to approve student comments before they are posted? What this really means is, do you trust your students or not? If you teach middle school, you are always going to say, yes, I want to approve my student comments before everybody can see them. If you teach other grades, you may or may not want to turn that on. And just in case you have more than one Collaborate board, you can click the apply for the rest of this session button so I don't have to answer this question again. I either trust you now and I'll trust you later, or I don't trust you now and I won't trust you later. So I'm going to click yes, because not because I don't trust you, but because I want you to see what happens when I do need to moderate. You know what happens if I don't need to moderate. You type something, you insert a picture, and it appears. So on my screen, I now have a little 1 showing up in a circle. And Christy said Immersive Reader. I like that answer, so I approve of it, and it appears on the screen for all to see. You have 2 ways to answer here. You can type in your answer, or you can insert an image. So this is one that I can actually participate in as well. I have a bunch of pictures appearing. All right. So thank you all for sharing. And you have seen how this works. So I don't want to deprive anybody, but we do have other things to get to. So I am going to give you a warning. This is important. When you move on from something fun and engaging, give your students a countdown so they know that they have to select or submit something now. So we're moving on in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
We do have a couple of great questions here. Is it possible to collaborate on a Nearpod in real time with a coworker?
Not on the Nearpod itself. So that first step of if you're making it in PowerPoint, then you have the same collaboration ability there. You can share a Nearpod as a template for others so that they can take it and customize it, and then they can share it back with you. But no, as far as you working together at the same time, not designed for that.
Okay. Great. That was one I could not answer.
Thank you. So this is pretty much the same quiz that you just took, but I turned it into time to climb. So time to climb is a little bit like Kahoot. I have 3 choices. You can race up a mountain in space, Himalayas, or underwater. I can choose to randomize the answers. No need to do that when you're all in different places, but that's designed so you don't look at your neighbors and cheat. So you can now join the game by choosing which of those little critters you want to be. Welcome, Renee. There are, I think, 8 characters to choose from. There's a younger and an older version of each. So we've got 10 players in, 12 players in. So again, I started by creating a quiz, and then when you are editing your slides, when you're creating your slideshow, you can select a page that has a quiz on it, and it will there'll be a spot where you can click to convert it into time to climb. You can make time to climb just by choosing that as a slide type, but you can also take an existing quiz and convert it into time to climb. Only difference is with a quiz, you can have a multiple answer question. With time to climb, you can't. It has to be one answer. So I think the first question on the quiz asked you to select 2. So I had to redo that one for time to climb and put those answers in pairs because you can only select 1. You can also have a maximum of 4 answer choices. And I think I had at least one question in that quiz that had 5 answer choices. So I had to eliminate one of them to turn it into this activity. So we have 19 players. We're going to click start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Well, all right, so you got that groovy music. It's asking which Microsoft Office apps or programs would you use to remove the background? That should say from a picture, not from a picture. 9 seconds, 8 seconds. All right, so we have a lot of different point values here. So like Kahoot, I didn't tell you this ahead of time, but like Kahoot, you get more points for answering faster. Which Microsoft Office app or program to organize and share videos with students. Microsoft Office or website use longer text. Which Microsoft app?
So Matthew, I don't know about everyone else, but I can't hear you on Nearpod music.
Oh. I'm just reading the questions aloud.
Okay.
So if everybody answers before time's up, it goes ahead and closes that question. That's all. Congratulations, Emily, coming from behind. All right, so I would like Emily to kind of bask in the glory there a little bit longer, but again, you can't hear me over the music, so we had to move on. All right, last thing, we're not going to do this one for time's sake, but just wanted you to see that Nearpod now has integration with Flipgrid as well. So again, sorry that we don't have time for that one, but you can, from within Nearpod, one of the slide choices is Flipgrid. It takes you as you're creating it, it logs you into Flipgrid, or you log into Flipgrid and choose an existing one. So you have to you can't make a Flipgrid assignment from within Nearpod. You can choose one that you have created within Nearpod, within Flipgrid already. All right, so this slide will be at the end of our Pear Deck presentation as well. But if you have something you want to tweet to I2E, EDU, and DADX8, that's fine, but you'll have more chances to do that. And you entered this lesson through Microsoft Teams. So I just posted it in Teams. I'm gonna go ahead and close this lesson now. This PDF with the 3-month free subscription, we will add to the chat and to the post. So I'm gonna go ahead and close this lesson and encourage you to click back to the meeting large screen if you haven't done that yet. But I want to share my screen with you to show you just a couple things real quick on the Nearpod website and then switch over to Pear Deck. So this is the Nearpod website. It brings you into your library. Of course, when you first get here, this is all going to be empty. You'll have like maybe one sample lesson in here. But what I really want to show you is just the way you launch it. If you hover over something, you can click a live lesson. Since this is a live lesson that we just used, it's live, it's good for 14 days. I can relaunch this again, or if I want to do this with a new class, then I can simply launch a new lesson. You don't want to use the same code for 2 different classes because then your reports of information are going to have those 2 classes mixed together. So you can launch one lesson any number of times. There's no limit on that. Or you can launch a student-paced lesson. By default, they're good for 29 days, but you can make that anywhere from 1 day to 364 days, so almost a year. And you can see here's different options from within Nearpod launching the lesson. So if I choose Teams, it will ask me what team I want to share it to. Do I want to make it as an assignment in Teams or just a post in Teams like you got? Or you can just grab the link and copy that. Since Teams doesn't allow you to make a post now and kind of leave it in draft mode or schedule it till later, if this is something you don't want to appear right now in Teams, then I would suggest you copy the link And then when you're ready to launch it, go ahead and paste that link in and make a post in Teams. So where are the results? Well, if I scroll down here to reports, it lists my Nearpod lessons in order of the ones that I've used most recently. And when I click on the ones I've used most recently, it will show the session that I used most recently. So there's an overall summary, and then I can click on each of the question types and see very specific answers. For draw it activities, I can actually click to see your individual drawings. Collaborates. Okay, gets me to the website that shows everybody's responses. So again, if you decided to save the notes, this is essentially what you would see as well. You can download this as PDFs, and you can also share this. So one of the kind of cool uses of sharing is if you use Nearpod as a formal observation, then you can go ahead and enter your administrator's email address, and by the time they get back to their office, they have a copy of the report as well. All right, so that is Nearpod. And I have a few too many windows open, so bear with me while I clear some things up. All right. So as I mentioned at the beginning, Nearpod runs in Nearpod, not in PowerPoint. This is Pear Deck. So I am in PowerPoint Online. And I will show you at the end how you can actually launch it from within Teams, but I want you to see PowerPoint and show you how to actually add this. So it is only in PowerPoint Online. So if you go to the Insert tab in PowerPoint Online, all the way to the right, there's a tab called Add-ins. I didn't realize until recently that PowerPoint Online had add-ins. I think that's because my district had them turned off. And you can search right in here for Pear Deck. Pear Deck has a space in it, but it was smart enough to figure out what I wanted anyway. And then just click Add. So you find add-ins under the Insert tab. And I already have it, so we're not going to go any further there. Once you add it in, though, Pear Deck is under your Home tab. So there's always fun things under the ellipses. So if you go to the end of your Home tab, click on the ellipses, there's Pear Deck. So this is where you will add the interactive activities to your slides. And this is also where you can get to the templates. So it's a little bit, well, there's one extra step here. Google Slides, this integration works a little bit better. Right here, in Google Slides, I can click to add things. So we're lobbying Pear Deck to bring PowerPoint up to date in that way. You have an extra step here. So when I click on this link to get to the critical thinking templates, it will open in a new tab, and it opens one sample PowerPoint that has critical thinking activities in it. And it's a little slow in loading. But essentially what I need to do is I now need to download this template and save it to my device. And then upload it into my OneDrive. Because this add-on only works in the online version of PowerPoint, I need to get it from their online version, download it to my desktop, and then upload it to my OneDrive so that I can have both of them open and copy a slide from their template and paste it into my presentation.
So I'll just pop in. What I've done is started with their template and then added my customized slides if I'm starting from scratch. That doesn't work if I want to reuse my own slides. But if I'm just starting from scratch, then I don't have to do the download, re-upload.
The other workaround that I've been playing around with this week is the Pear Deck add-on is only online,
Right.
but the desktop version of PowerPoint has reused slides. So if I just download their template and then I open it on my desktop and then close it, then when I go to right next to the new slide, you'll have reuse slides on the desktop version. I can reuse those Pear Deck templates and I can pull them up right from here and insert them right in. And
Right.
if I do that on the desktop version, if I started, sorry, I just realized I started at the wrong point. I need to start my PowerPoint online and then click open in the desktop app, because that's what connects the two. So if I start here, open in the desktop app, use the reuse slides, then when I come back online, those slides that I reused are in the online version. So a couple different workflows here, but the bottom line is it's all inside of PowerPoint. I don't have to go to a Pear Deck website to do this. It's all in PowerPoint. So you can choose slides from their templates, or you can click on any slide and choose to turn it into a text answer slide or multiple choice slide or in any of these 6 types. And in fact, you can take one of their existing ones, so you can tell that this has a Pear Deck activity in it because the pair is at the bottom of the slide. So if I click on any one of these, I can change this question type, which is a written response text. If I click on a different one, I can turn it into one of these other types. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and launch this one so you can participate. And I'm going to start as an instructor paste activity. One of the advantages of Pear Deck is you can switch this back and forth between student paste and teacher paste. So you have a couple different ways to proceed here. I could give students a link and go paste it back in Teams. But what I'd like you to do is go open a new tab, go to joinpd.com, and you're going to enter this code. They always give a little silly sentence underneath. It's always an adjective, noun, verb, adjective, noun. So broke grapes, quiz, quick muffins. BGQQM. Broke grapes, quiz, quick muffins.
So I'm going to start this in a new tab just for everyone who has been, like me, having to click in and out of Teams and watching Matthew and doing the activities. So just a tip, I'm going to start a new tab in my browser, joinpd.com, and type in my code. I think that'll help me.
Yeah, and like I said at the beginning, we have an extra step here because I'm trying to show you the teacher screen. This whole process for both of these will be a little simpler for you when you're doing it with students, where you don't have to worry about sharing the teacher screen so they can see it and sharing the student screen. Okay, you have one less screen to show them. All right, so I also have a button on my screen that says Open Teacher Dashboard. The teacher dashboard is where I'm going to be able to see all of your results. It's where I'm going to be able to control which slides we're in. So I'm actually going to leave my teacher dashboard sitting on top of my presentation screen. All right, so we have 16 people in. You can still join at joinpd.com BGQQM. And as you can see, this is teacher paste right now. So just like in Nearpod, I'm able to control which slides you're on. And again, we started with the same slides we started the Nearpod with. Right? But now we have an activity that you can answer. So this is the same question we had before, so we don't need, well, yeah, let's go ahead and answer it. What are you doing more of personally or professionally during this quarantine? Learning, meetings, technology. These are slightly different. Getting kicked out of Teams. These are slightly different answers than you gave last time. I'm glad we asked again. And so what I can do on my presentation screen is I can share some of these answers with you. Now, if I choose to show responses, I have a couple different views here. I have a list view that I can scroll through, and I have a grid view. And if I choose to share responses, that's what you're going to see on my presentation screen, is the list view or the grid view. But if I choose to put a star next to one, then I'm saying this is the one that I want you to see. And I can do that with more than one. There's a few different answers I want you to see, and I can put stars next to those. So I can, by not starring any, I can make them all available to you. If I star certain ones, then only those will be available for you to see. And I can also hide individual responses. So I can click next to each person's name, there's the vertical ellipses, kind of the snowman, and I can choose hide response. So this way I can show everybody's, but if there's one or two that are either inappropriate or for whatever reason I don't want you to see those, then I can hide individual ones or I can highlight individual ones. Right. Moving on to some other question types. This one has nothing to do specifically with Nearpod or Pear Deck, but knowing that you're going to receive this slide deck when you leave, take this one as a gift. This is just advice to share with your participants when you're leading distance learning. And apparently I duplicated those. Difference in views. Let me get you to some questions. Let's do some actual question types. Here we go. This is a multiple choice question. This one is essentially a poll. All right, so we have pretty much all Pear Deck newbies. All right, so I have 17 out of 21 answers. So this is true for both of these platforms. You have sort of a new dilemma here. When you are working with students walking around the classroom and it's not digital and you have written work to do, you make some decision at some point where you decide, I think everybody who's going to be writing anything has got, like, I'm at the point where most people are done. Not everybody's done. I'm not exactly sure who's done or who isn't, but you make a judgment call that it's time to move on. When you get digital tools like this, it's a little bit of a dilemma because I know exactly how many people haven't answered. I have 18 people. That means 3 people haven't answered. That messes with your head a little bit. You can sort of become comfortable with, everybody's pencils are down. I guess everybody's done. No, you have the real data in front of you, and you still have, there's some point where it is time to move on. And that's just something you're going to have to come to terms with. So this is a drawing activity. We have draw it in Nearpod. We have draw it in Pear Deck as well. You can type, you can write. I have a few different ways to respond here. This one specifically says draw or type to label your parts of the cell. On my teacher dashboard, instead of just having the list view or the grid view, I also have, in this case, I have an overlay view where I can see everybody's answers on top of each other. doesn't really help me see much on this particular activity. There's some other activities where that will be more useful. All right, so Jason teaches science. Very nice. And this next activity is one where that overlay will come in really handy. So I want to know where you are right now. So you can drag the flag to where you're from. So I can scroll down in list view and see everybody individually. Or I can put it in grid view and see all the responses all on one page, but they're really, really tiny thumbnails. It's hard to see. So by putting it in the overlaid layout, that's a tongue twister, you can see, oh my goodness, we have, is that China? No. Oh, never mind, it moved. So we're all in the Western Hemisphere. Looks like further south, I can't really zoom in. I'm looking, that looks like about Panama, approximately. So if you look in the screen that I'm sharing in Teams, you can see what the overlay looks like. This one's very similar. It's a different object to grab. So with the draggables, there's it's about 10 different objects that you can choose from, and then you can also change what size they are. So what is customizable about a draggable activity is you can put absolutely anything you want on the slide. You cannot customize what those objects are. Like I said, there's about 10 different objects to choose from. If you wanted to use an object that isn't part of what Pear Deck offers, you can't, you can't put a comic version of your face, for instance. And then sometimes you want to ask follow-up questions. So this particular one asks you to enter a number. How many jelly beans do you think can fit in a mason jar? You can just type in a number there. But warning you, we're moving on. I can then ask the follow-up question where you write your response. Give me some more information about how you decided on that number. Now, it's also possible, if this wasn't built into my slide, and I'm going to go back one slide here. If I asked you to estimate, and some of you answered a number like 5, and some of you, 500,000, and that prompts me to wonder, where are you getting this from? Are you paying any attention? So I might, if my next question isn't, how did you decide on that number? I may decide right here and now that I want to know how you decided on that number. And so on the bottom of the teacher screen, you have the ability to add a new prompt. So this is an on-the-fly question. So I could grab a written response question and insert it here and just tell you, what I want to know is, how did you arrive at that number? Okay, so the question for this new slide is, how did you come up with that? I ate the jelly beans. And the other thing that I can do down at the bottom of my screen is I can lock the screen. Okay, so at this point, if I need to get everybody's attention and I need you to stop writing, need you to stop doing what you're doing, I can lock your screen so you can't interact there anymore. And we can deal with what we need to deal with. And then I can unlock the screens again and you can carry on. So you do have some pretty powerful management tools at the bottom of your teacher screen. All right, and this one, oh, sorry, I didn't give you your warning. This is a link to a website. It's peardeck.com/staying-connected. And you're able to go to this website right here within the presentation. Don't have to open a new tab, don't have to open another browser. So the pre-made activities, the templates that you can download, come in different categories. One of them is things for the beginning of class. One is during class. One is at the end of class. There's ones on social emotional learning. Okay, so this is one that, oh, and then there's ones for getting to know each other. So this is from the social emotional collection. All right. I'm going to click to move on and show you some teacher tools, some of which I've already just sort of talked about. 3 different ways to join. You can have students go to joinpd.com. You could post this directly in Microsoft Teams. Again, that will work better for you than it would for me in this scenario where I'm trying to show you multiple screens. And there's also the ability to join anonymously. That is in your settings, so you're able to set it up so that students don't have to log in with a Microsoft or Google account. If you launch it through Microsoft, if you launch it with a PowerPoint, it will prompt students to log in with a Microsoft account. If you launch it through Google Slides, it'll prompt them to log in with a Google account. But you can do the anonymous join as well. All right, so which one are you most likely to use? That's what I'm wondering. And at this point, I'm going to do one additional thing. One thing that you can't do in Nearpod, if I want to do a student paste session in Nearpod, I have to launch it as a student paste. If I want to do teacher paste, I launch it as teacher paste. You can embed a student paste code within a teacher paste lesson in Nearpod, so you can have them go from your teacher paste lesson and open a separate student paste. But with Pear Deck, we can switch right here on the fly. So I am now turning this on to student paste. So you are able to now proceed through the next few slides. Well, you're actually able to go forward or backwards, but you can go anywhere in this slide deck now. You jump ahead to, well, you just scroll down. 37 has an activity, 45 has an activity. And then if you get to slide 53, there's a bunch of activities you can go through. So 53 through 57 is a bunch of different activities that you can try out. And as I click on each slide, underneath each slide, I can see who is on that particular slide. So when it is time to end the student pace mode, when I want to bring everybody back together, which is optional, you could kind of end your class that way. But whatever slide that I'm on, when I click to stop student pace mode, you will all be brought to that slide, which in this case, is slide number 60. Weekly Wonders. So peardeck.com/weekly wonders. Each week there's 3 templates, one for each elementary, middle, and high school. So if you're looking to get started with Pear Deck in a very easy way, sharing one of these with students is a good way for you each to practice. They also have integration with Newsela or Newsela, however you like to pronounce that. It's easy to find their different tools. They all use the same naming convention. It's peardeck.com/. So we had peardeck.com/Newsela. If you want to know where the templates are that you can download, peardeck.com/templates. They have Be Internet Awesome. That's a Google's digital citizenship offering. So that's peardeck.com/Be Internet Awesome. Resources for student pace modes. And just like Nearpod is currently offering a free upgrade, same is true for Pear Deck. This one has a different address. 90 free days of Pear Deck. It's at a bit.ly site, so that's one that we hopefully are posting in the chat, and will definitely be in the stream in Teams as well. Okay, so I'm going to end this one because we are, well, because we're out of time. I want to show you very briefly peardeck.com. Okay, so when I log in, there's remote learning resources here. There's resources specifically for PowerPoint. So if I click here, it'll take me right to my OneDrive, and it'll kind of walk me through creating a new presentation right here. So when this one says create a presentation, that's it. That's what you're doing if you click there. So you're going to start creating one. Since I have created them before, as soon as you do add that add-on in PowerPoint Online and you create something, it will create a Pear Deck folder in your OneDrive. So right here where it says present a file from OneDrive, these are different Pear Decks that are now in there because I've been playing around with it, and show you what that looks like. And then we'll return to Teams and get ready to check out. So I've got Nearpod, OneNote, and Pear Deck at the top here. By the way, if you want to move something to the top of your screen, adding an emoji alphabetizes, well, alphabetically, emojis come first. And the way you add an emoji is if you right click on the name to rename it. Hello. Go to the beginning. Windows, period, opens up emojis. That works in Twitter. That works. I don't know anywhere that it doesn't work. Windows, period. I do not use a Mac, so I don't know how that works on a Mac. But that's how you can get an emoji, and that will automatically move these things to the top, regardless of what they start with. So here's my Pear Deck. And here's the one that we just used. So it will create a folder for all of your PowerPoints that you turn into Pear Deck sessions and save them all together there. All right, so I'm closing my internet, coming back here and checking out chat. I know Becky's been calling attention to things in chat that we need to talk about.
This has been an amazing session, and I know we are now at the end of our hour and a half. A couple people commented, it just flew by. So you all great the opportunity to see what these two products are like as a student, experience it, and then watch Matthew's screen as a teacher. And if you were hoping for like a how-to click-by-click setup, that wasn't what this session was about. We wanted you to see the interactive modules live so that when you go to create a Pear Deck or a Nearpod presentation, you know what to expect. You know that there's a time to climb and that there's a draw tool and all of that. So I think now our call to action and challenge for you all is to go try it out. Go log in to one of those tools and click around. We'll provide some getting started resources in the channel for this meeting as individual links. And so you will be able to go get started. There's also courses on these apps in the Microsoft Educator Center. So you can get started with support in a lot of different ways, but you wouldn't have been able to experience this interactivity all by yourself. So, so thank you, Matthew, and thank you, everyone. Lots of tips and tricks presented today. We're going to end the recording now and wish you all farewell. I know Matthew will stick around.
And Becky, since you pointed out this wasn't a training, in the Wakelet there, we have links to both Nearpod and Pear Deck do offer webinars to train you in the basics. And in that Wakelet, you can find the calendars of those trainings.
Exactly. Christy's asking about the redeem code. I just posted that to the chat. Matthew, do you have that slide?
Yeah, actually I have.
Awesome. I just posted that to the chat. If you are tracking your hours in the Microsoft Educator Center, which not everyone is, but if you are, then I've just posted that link to the chat.
Thank you.
And if Matthew's able to post it on screen, then that'll be captured in the video as well.
This is the first year I got from July.
You're welcome.
Actually, you know what? I completely closed. Yeah, I'd have to reopen the PowerPoint to do that. So,
or Matthew, if you want to just like paste it from the chat into OneNote and put that on screen.
Okay.
That'll work, just so there's a visual for the recording, because the recording doesn't capture the chat. Here, I'll paste it again. You're welcome. Thank you, everyone.
Didn't mean to go that far out.
Actually, Matthew, if you could just put it on your OneNote page that you just had up, that you sent to me. Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, that's closed to now.
Okay, that works too. All right, thanks everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.